Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure and also a great honor of mine to welcome Sergio Silva from Fireblocks as a guest for this podcast. For me, it's a great honor because I've been following your path for a couple of years now, because it's a very interesting path you've been doing. But for the folks out there who might not be too familiar with you, but also with Fireblocks, which is a huge infrastructure provider in the space, but we will come into that later on. Would be very nice if you just give us like a brief overview of your career and also like a brief overview of what Fireblocks is building.
Sure, thank you. By the way, thanks for the nice words. That's really happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. So I'm Sergio, like you said. I go by Sergito on like crypto Twitter, NFT Twitter. I came into the Web3 space 2.5 years ago in early 21. I was working in Wall Street at an investment bank, dealing with like sales and trading. I had found crypto almost by accident, and never really paid much attention to it until I found NFTs. And I saw how that value unlock for like digital asset ownership was going to like revolutionize many industries. So I left my job at Barclays and I joined Fireblocks, which is the leading provider of digital asset infrastructure. So we provide all the self-custody wallets for enterprises. And we're here today. We just announced a brand new product to power the next wave of Web3 innovation. So just really happy to be sharing the moment right now with you.
And you're also huge into the NFT ecosystem, right?
I was lucky that I was early-ish. I think I was February of 21, right before CryptoPunks took off. There were not a lot of NFTs that you could buy. Now there's millions of NFTs out there. But before there was, very little. And so I bought a punk for about 6 Ether early in that month and just kind of like took it from there. And so, it is a rabbit hole, as I'm sure you know and the viewers know. And I'm still kind of like finding myself deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole.
Great. So you just mentioned that you're like one of the most essential partners for like enterprises, like above all the financial players in the space, and provide them with the like custodial, like not custodial services, but with the infrastructure to enable them to really hold digital assets. So can you give us like some overview also from when Fireblocks came into being and where you sit right now, how many customers you have, and how huge the business is?
Sure. So Fireblocks was born out of our founder experience. He's a cybersecurity expert. He was hired to analyze a hack that a Korean exchange suffered, where a lot of Bitcoins were stolen. And obviously, there's wallet solutions out there, but they're mostly focused on retail. And there was no real enterprise grade security and wallet infrastructure that would allow digital asset businesses to grow, build, innovate, scale. And to start Fireblocks, we use a technology that's called MPC, multi-party computation, that allows us to create wallets at scale without seed phrases. And then we add other elements of security, such as a policy engine, where our clients can use different workflow management things, so that if there's a need to move Ether or Bitcoin from a particular wallet, a certain authorization workflow has to happen before that transaction gets approved and signed. And so you have distributed, teams around the world that can sign different transactions only when they're required to, and not really, like, for example, depending on a multi-sig where pretty much every transaction needs to be signed by somebody. So it's super efficient, super scalable. We have 1,800 institutional clients all over the world. Some of the largest banks in the space, fintech, retail, a lot of Web3 native brands, DeFi funds, VC funds. We've done about $4 trillion of digital asset transfers. And our clients through Fireblocks have created 130 million wallets across 50 blockchains.
You mentioned a very interesting technology, MPC wallets, and we also see some like first developments when it comes to the adoption of the consumers of MPC wallets. I think Coinbase is doing quite some interesting stuff with their services. Can you give a brief explanation of what an MPC wallet is without getting too technical?
Sure. So MPC really is a protocol, not in the blockchain sense of a protocol, right? It's not like it's a blockchain itself or a dApp on a blockchain, but it's a cryptographical way in which you can have distributed sets of information that get combined to do one activity, where each distributed set does not know what the other sets hold. So when we create the private keys, the same thing other MPC providers do for your wallet, we create the private key in 3 different shares, so 3/3,
Yeah.
and we put them in different clouds.
Yeah.
Then we use that MPC to take the necessary signing information from each share for each particular transaction and use that to sign the transaction. So the private key itself is always separate. It's never at the same place at the same time. And that's the security model. That's how we protect that private key. There's no seed phrase, no need for that. It's all just the MPC algorithm managing the signature when necessary.
And if you look at like the most common usages of this infrastructure, what clouds are we talking about? So if you just take a common financial player, where do they host these 3 different shards?
Right. So for the enterprise grade wallet that we have, so 2 of the shards get hosted by Azure and AWS, like secure clouds with secure SGX chip technology. And then 1/3 of the share gets put into the mobile device of the authorized users, because Fireblocks is non-custodial, right? Crypto ethos, not your keys, not your coins, also applies for enterprises. So it is that 1/3 of the key that is in the device that will allow our clients, employees, and colleagues to sign transactions. So Azure, AWS, and then it's called the secure enclave of the chip of the phone, call it an iPhone or an Android. We have other deployment methods, but that's the most widely used.
Are there any other differences when it comes to the wallet design and how institutions use wallets compared to consumers?
It's, we cover such a broad range of clients that wallets get used in a bunch of different ways. What I like to talk about is how any transaction on chain requires a wallet, right? There's 2 things that you need for any transaction on chain: a wallet and gas money. Right. And so these are EOAs. So your traditional Ethereum externally owned accounts, as they're called. There's no like smart contract behind them. So there's no gas fees. For example, versus a multi-sig where like there's a bunch of different people signing. You have to pay to create a wallet for a multi-sig, not with ours. These are all derived from the private key of what we call a workspace, which is your Fireblocks account.
Okay. And do you also have some like interface for that, or is it just like a technology other players build on and that they get like integrated into existing systems?
It's both, right? So we have a UI that, for example, our clients that do manual transfers, they use to create new wallets, to instruct transfers, to see their activity. And then there's other clients that use us solely or mostly via API. Right, so we have clients like Flipkart. They are literally the Walmart of India, one of the biggest e-commerce countries in the world. And they've deployed 2.5 million Fireblocks wallets, all via API. They deployed 1 million wallets over the last month. So it's not like there's somebody there clicking every single time a client creates a wallet. They have their mobile app, says, okay, I want to join your Web3 program. They hit a button on their app. In the back end, API says, okay, all the good stuff, creates a wallet for the user.
Okay, interesting. And from a pricing model perspective, is it resembling some kind of SaaS?
It's a SaaS model, and we're constantly innovating on our pricing because our clients are constantly innovating their use cases. So actually, we just launched a new startup pricing package that is pretty cheap. Not gonna lie, like it is the cheapest you can get a Fireblocks workspace. You can pay with credit card. It's really focused on like the startup scene, like developers who, we used to start $40,000 a year. Now you can get this package that has all of the security, which is more limited on the volume that you can transfer, for about $5,000 a year. And the same technology that's protecting millions of wallets at Revolut and at Flipkart and at Bank of New York can be protecting what you're developing or what somebody's developing, and you can build that on top of Fireblocks. We also have a lot of free resources now too, developer testnets, sandboxes, a lot of documentation as well. So it's we've really improved our offering towards that part of the segment, that segment of the market.
Okay. I think it was like 2 weeks ago that you announced your new wallet as a service product. Can you give some kind of insights into the rationale and the motivation behind that?
Sure. So that's actually my keynote today was precisely on that as well.
Okay, great.
So we already had wallet as a service, which is this direct custody model that I was talking about. For example, Flipkart, they create the wallets on behalf of the clients, but those wallets still reside under Flipkart's purview. For the non-custodial wallet, one of the biggest things that when we talk to brands and corporates told us is, listen, we don't want to fall under any regulatory or licensing requirements, where if we're in the middle of like financial flows, then we need a license, it's called an MTL, money transmitter license or something like that. We just don't want to be in that.
Okay.
But we want to have a way where our clients can take their Web3 products that we're selling them or giving them home with them, right? So they needed a non-custodial wallet, like MetaMask is a non-custodial wallet, but you can't create on behalf of somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. So this is a product that's thinking of how do we onboard people that don't have their own Ethereum wallets that want to be able to interact with brands and corporates Web3 offerings, but where the brands are not the ones that are, responsible for the keys and thus kind of become de facto custodian. So everything we've learned from, 5 years of servicing enterprises, we applied to this new custodial, non-custodial wallet. It's an SDK-based wallet, so anybody can embed it in their iOS app, Android, or like web service.
Yeah.
And so you as a client, as a retail person, as a normie, can go in and create a new wallet and you get, it's not just a wallet, it's almost a platform where the brands can then build different kinds of offerings, solutions, client journeys. You can have it so that it only interacts with certain smart contracts, so you can protect your clients, make sure that, obviously Web3 is like the Wild West still.
Yeah.
So being able to provide clients with guardrails helps a lot for that. I think that, future mass adoption. And so we're really excited about the product. I think it really changes things. And I'm pretty sure it's going to power a lot of the big consumer applications down the line.
And we like just continue our conversation about the next consumer application being built on such an infrastructure. How does the pipeline of the potential customers look like for this product?
You know what? It's really good because it's very broad again, right? Like I think our customer base for like retail facing used to be just fintechs and exchanges, right? So that use cases were always just custody and transfer, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But with this new, so for example, our design partners for the wallet, the one that's public was Unstoppable Domains. So Unstoppable Domains, obviously they help people with like on-chain identity and being able to save your dots, crypto and whatever.
Yeah.
And they're thinking of how do we turn this non-custodial wallet into really a platform for development of on-chain identity. So that's one. We have another design partner, which is a DEX, right?
Okay.
And they're thinking, how can we provide, crypto and Web3 is very desktop heavy.
Yeah.
But people obviously are always on their phone. So how do we bring like people to use our service on their mobile phone? And so like just that range from, an on-chain ID to like a DEX and everything in between. Some of the conversations we've had on this conference have been, some of the use cases already being built.
Yeah.
The solutions have been a little bit lacking. And I think with us entering this space is really going to make for a more robust dev platform. If you think of the wallet as the foundation of the offering.
But that sounds very like Web3 native from the client perspective. Yeah. Are there also like Web2 brands that are approaching it that you want to discuss?
Oh, you meant that? I thought you meant like the wallet sounds very Web3 native. That we actually,
you are very the Web3 native. Yeah, definitely.
We can't disclose a name, and I know that sounds like I'm just teasing, but we're working with a gigantic fintech, and e-commerce provider, and they're working with us on this because I think they see the future as well. And I'm pretty excited about that. And full Web2, like, they've had inroads into crypto and Web3.
Yeah.
But now they're like, okay, this is a product that we can really kind of like the stuff that we're used to building in Web2 that is robust, that is lasting, that, can be scalable. Now finally we have a platform where we can deliver that in a Web3 form. So definitely. And then there's other brands as well that are not design partners, but that are already very engaged after we made the announcement last week at Permissionless that we were launching the non-custodial wallets.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a huge debate inside the crypto space. Like if the technology is ready enough to really onboard like people and build actually use cases or on the app layer, because crypto tends to be very infrastructure focused. Do you think like personally that we are like at the point in time where the the complexity can be abstracted away sufficiently to really help Web2 brands to enter the space without having to wonder and worry about blockchain technology?
I think I personally disagree with the view that blockchain needs to be like fully abstracted away. I think there's a beauty to it.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important piece of the puzzle. I do agree that, your typical consumer experience, UI, UX in crypto is disgusting right now and terrible. I think we're on the right path. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're anywhere near close because it's a couple of elements that need to work together. One of them being use cases, right? So now we're actually seeing the proliferation of loyalty programs on Web3. Still took 2 years for we had Lufthansa here on stage yesterday talking about theirs, right? Like took 2 years.
Yeah.
So to really develop lasting, robust use cases is going to take a little longer. So I think we're on the right path. I don't think we're there yet, but I think the whole industry is working together to try to figure that out.
Okay, so it's more a question of case studies for other brands to follow, or do you also see in your discussions also that there are technical roadblocks still that just prevent us from or hinder us from the accelerating?
So technology, I don't think is that much more of a roadblock than regulatory and compliance right now.
Okay.
Right, and so it's not that it's just murky. It's a gray area, and if you're a big brand, a big corporate with shareholders, and they're like, you can't just risk falling afoul of regulation.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you are a consumer retail company here in Germany, like you don't want to be put yourself in a moment where like BaFin or like any other the financial regulation comes in and says, hey, by the way, you've been acting as a like unregistered securities dealer. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And I think that is more of a problem than the technological lift. I think again, like the technology will get there and it's a lift, and people are, like our non-custodial wallet was 1 year in development. So solutions are coming and continue to come. There's account abstraction. There's all this other stuff that's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
It's more like, how do we make sure that regulatory wise, people are comfortable with what's being used? And so we'll get there as well. But I think that's more of a problem today.
How do you feel like the whole narrative around real world assets and the tokenization of so-called real world assets that are off-chain assets? So how do you feel about it? Is it just a blank narrative that at some point will get earned like disappointment, or do you see really a potential there?
Somebody made a tweet, I forget who it was, maybe it was Nick Carter or somebody big in crypto Twitter yesterday. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm excited for real world assets again.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's funny because people confuse price performance or like, moments of hype with adoption and development. It takes time. So like RWAs have been on the pipeline for a while. And Ethereum, maybe like ICOs and stuff, that was 2017, 2018, maybe laid the foundation for what's to come. Yeah. So we have to go through the different stages. We're very, very, very busy right now with tokenization use cases, carbon credits, different types of, we did a pilot in Israel of settling fixed income, so bonds over blockchain, right? And so I think people also think of real world assets as like houses and gold bars, when in reality, I think it's going to be more like financial intangible products, stocks, bonds, maybe not currencies, but like other types of financial things where blockchain really does help you have a transparent settlement layer. Or I worked at a bank for 12 years, like settling a loan, like a tradable loan, it takes 45 days. Right? Selling a share it used to take 3 days, they cut it down to 2 days. Right? Selling a structured note took 2-3 weeks. And so blockchain can come in there and help alleviate that. And those are real world assets, much more than like, I tokenize my car. So I think, but again, it's been in the making, and we're seeing a lot of demand from like the more established financial players for it because they understand the value proposition.
Yeah. And how do you think about the private blockchain versus public blockchain debate? Because obviously there are huge benefits building on public blockchains when it comes to liquidity, interoperability. But on the other hand, there's the whole privacy issue and also the whole KYC requirements from big institutions. So how do you see this debate evolve and you like potentially banks building on?
So, private blockchain as in you can't access the information or you can't access the protocol. Like a permission blockchain, you mean?
Yeah, permission blockchain. Yeah.
Okay, I think permission blockchains are bullshit. Excuse my French.
Yeah.
Right.
But we see like JP Morgan
You're
and
better off
Citi
with
building
a
on.
database. I
Yeah.
think the banks will have to go through that for two reasons. One, to learn,
Yeah.
and two, because the internal teams, it's hard for them to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna launch on Ethereum.
Yeah.
So it's part of the journey. I don't think they'll be the future. I think in that case, again, just use a database. You know, obviously there's drawbacks to blockchain, and if you're just using a private enterprise one, why bother?
Mhm.
I do think that we're gonna have a lot of permission dApps on public blockchains, and I really think that is actually going to be more like the future, where there is a need for like KYC in some
Yeah, it has to
situations and
be.
permission. So maybe it's like a permission wallet, or like have an identity token that allows you to interact with a certain protocol.
Yeah.
And you get the best of both worlds. And we've seen some teams that we're engaged with trying to build in that direction.
Okay.
Actually, at Fireblocks, we launched an Avid fork with the Avid team called Avid Arc, and it was a permission version of Avid.
Yeah.
And it had like some pools, and it was just for testing. The volume was never too large there, but it was more for financial institutions to kind of get used to it and be able to participate in it without jumping into a pool of money that you don't know where it's coming from and might get them in trouble with the regulator.
Yeah. One other big trend that might drive wallet adoption could be autonomous agents from an AI agent,
Yeah.
basically. Do you guys think already about this scenario, and does it like have any implications on how you have to design a wallet?
I actually not really.
Uh-huh.
It hasn't come up, right? We listen to our clients a lot. And
Yeah.
so we build what the clients need. And that's why I think Fireblocks has been really good at future-proofing our offering, right? So we enabled Arbitrum, Optimism, Polygon 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Before most other, let alone custodians, technology providers.
Mhm.
And so we're always listening to the market. Obviously, AI is all the rage. For good reason. It's an incredible technology. I hate it when people are like AI versus Web3. I know it's actually AI with Web3.
Yeah.
To your point, like autonomous agents with a wallet, like that'd be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it yet. And
Okay.
I think it's in the future for sure. I think the market, we don't hear anything about it so far.
Okay.
The first time some client asked me about AI, I'll call you first. I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. So maybe to wrap this conversation up with forward-looking, like also, if you want to say like outlook from your side, just on how the market is going to evolve. What do you think? Where will crypto be in the 12 months?
Listen, I think again, it's a space where price reflexivity is so high,
Yeah.
right? People are happy when price is up. People
Yeah.
think it's dead when the price is down.
Yeah.
My hope would be that we get a little more detached from it. I do think, I have a macro background, and obviously the macro world right now is pretty rough. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bitcoin and Ether and like crypto overall kind of like continue to bleed lower. I mean, Bitcoin was up 80% this year at some point.
Mhm.
It's gigantic,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
We
really
forget,
big.
yeah.
We forget,
Yeah.
in a bear market,
Yeah.
right? So could it give back half of that? Yeah, and it was still close the year 40% higher.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But if we go down from here, people are like, oh, it's so over and whatever. So I do think that apathy will be a factor in the next 6 to 9 months. I think we'll see more people leaving. I feel like every day I see announcements of people that came in from like Wall Street or like Web2 companies and are having to go back.
Yeah.
Maybe not because they don't believe in Web3 anymore, but just the opportunity set has really shrunk, right?
Yeah.
You have to pay rent, your mortgage, feed your
Yeah.
kids, go on a vacation. You can't do that on a bag of JPEGs.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's like negative signals.
Mhm.
So I do expect more pain unfortunately, from that side. However, I'm really emboldened, even the conversations that we've had here at DMEXCO this week, a lot of long-term projects from established companies, brands, and it's something that we saw with the financial services industry,
Mhm.
where their project is always 2 years long.
Yeah.
Right, and we're starting to see like PayPal took them 5 years.
Mhm.
We're not working with them.
Yeah.
But took them 5 years to launch their stablecoin.
Yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
so that's really good. They took the time to do it right and did it well. And today they just announced that Venmo will be able to Venmo accounts will be able to send PYUSD, whatever the thing is called. It took years.
Yeah.
And I expect more brands to say, okay, now that the FOMO is over, now there's other technology that can help me launch without incurring liabilities, without encouraging like regulatory risk. I'm going to take a look because I do believe this is the future of the space. And I think the future of a lot of things, right? Like you look around the broader conference we're at, there's 3 giant halls of ad tech booths, right? And they're all just selling you very similar things as ways to increase eyeballs on your ads.
Yeah.
For the most part, make them pretty, whatever. But that's an industry that didn't exist 15 years ago, right? Before social media, and like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And now there's 40,000 people here in Cologne that came to talk about that kind of stuff. And so we'll get there. We're just gonna have to, walk our walk, and it's gonna take time. But it's bright. The future's quite bright, I think.
I guess we just have to stay patient until your gigantic announcement that will bring back the bull market.
Yeah, no, I think again, like price and sentiment go so hand in hand, but the reality is there's much more exciting things in Web3 today than there were 2 years ago when every single NFT was up 50x.
Obviously, like fundamentally, it's amazing how innovative the space it has been. It's a question in the end of liquidity, right? The macro conditions.
Exactly. And but the reality is there's more brands today than ever.
Yeah.
There's more people building than ever. There's a lot of devs still like heads down trying to build things, and there's like new primitives coming out. And so the combination of that, to your point, a little bit of patience, which also turns into opportunity, right? Some people are going to sit on their hands and wait for the bull market. Others are going to be like, okay, great. I'm going to use this time to, very cliche, but bear markets are for builders.
Yeah, I think there are no better words than that to close the conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. And
anytime.
Enjoy the conference, I guess.
Thank you.